a Ryzen 5 3600 PC with the RTX 3050 graphics card. So quickly, just an overview of the parts and then we'll jump right into the build and then we'll have the benchmarks at the end. So let's go. First up is the Ryzen 5 3600. 6 cores, 12 threads, going to be perfect for our build. Our motherboard is the Asus Prime B550 Plus motherboard. We are using 16GB of RAM. For our CPU cooler, we'll be using the Vitro V5. So it's a good cooler, better than the stock cooler. I'm going to keep our Ryzen 5 3600 nice and cool. Of course, the main component of a gaming PC is our graphics card, which is the RTX 3050 from MSI. This is the Ventus X2 OC version. Really nice graphics card. Going to be perfect for 1080p high gaming, around about 60 FPS or so. Our power supply is the Corsair CX550F RGB. 550 watts, going to be perfect for this build. Our storage is a 1TB M.2 NVMe drive from TCSunbow. Only Gen 3, but more than good enough for what we need. And then finally our case is the Corsair 220T RGB. This has three 120mm fans at the front, which are all RGB. It also has an airflow as well, so it's going to be able to cool our components down really nicely. Without further ado, let's crack on with the build. Prime B550 Plus from Asus. So we're using the Ryzen 5 3600 here. CPU installation quite simple on the AM4 platform. The lever goes all the way up to the 90 degrees. Then we just take our CPU and hopefully it just pops in. There it is, just took there. Check it all round, make sure it's all good. Yep, that's in. And there we go. So the writing goes across this way, and then the little triangle is also on the motherboard and also on the CPU there. So next we're going to take off the retention brackets, these two here. There's no screw there, but that's because we just didn't have that screw, but otherwise normally you take that one out as well. So what we're going to need to do is just take a little bit of the thermal paste that Vitro actually provide, which is nice. So then you just undo this. I'm just going to put a little piece size on. That should be more than enough. This is how it's supposed to look. Okay. Now in theory we should just start putting these down, and yeah, I think they're fitting a lot better now. Yeah, there we go. So they're all over the holes now. So I think if I just anti-turn them, it should click. And then you start putting them down. So then what you do is do like a little figure of four, that corner to this corner to this corner to that corner. So like I say, just do a figure of eight. If you start there, then you go to this one, then you go to this one, then you go to this one, and just keep tightening them up as you go along. So we should be able to lift it up now. Yeah, we've got even pressure there, so it's all good. So let's put them on the fan. You're going to want to push air through and out of the case, so it's going to go this way. So the back of the fan there is going to go to here. There we go. So they just clip round there. They're perfectly fine. The fan's not going anywhere, so that's all good. And then we just need to plug in our fan just to get everything set up here. So I just run the fan there, and then CPU fan and CPU options. So CPU fan should be the first one. There we go. addressable RGB, just needs to go down to here. There we go. A little bit fiddly that one, but got it there. So the RAM is just the 2 sticks here. It's going to go into lanes 2 and lanes 4. Just make sure you line the notch up correctly and then clicks in. There you go, nice and simple. The RAM NVMe drive just slots in here. You just see where the little notches there, they line up to the notch here. Sort of at a 45-degree angle. Just hold the motherboard as well. There it is, just clicks in. Screw a lot easier. There we go. A little bit fiddly to start with the screw, but there we go. So that's the installation of the motherboard, all complete now. So now we move on to the motherboard installation into the case. So first of all, we're going to line up our I/O shield. This one goes this way. That's in nicely there, and then we just lift our motherboard and put it in. You can lift it by the cooler, that's perfectly fine. Just be a little bit careful, it's quite a tight case, so just be a little bit careful of the edges and stuff. Once you're all happy it's all lined up and all the screw holes lined up, then you just screw it in. I'd probably start with the centre one first. So with that motherboard installation complete, we're just going to plug in all like the USB header and the front panel header and everything. Yeah. It's always a bit funny, that USB 3 one. So we sorted out all those little cables at the back there. Now we're just ready to install the power supply. So I've only got the cables that I absolutely need here plugged in. So it's all good. So once we do that, once we've done that, we just need to identify our cables. So that's PCIe, so that's our graphics card. We'll leave that with that alone. We'll grab the CPU 8-pin connector and just feed it up through here. That'll just give us enough. Let me just there we go. Rework that wire there. There we go. But this big chunky boy is going to have to kind of go through here. The USB 3 cable is a bit of a problem. We just had to take out the USB there because it just wasn't fitting through. So hopefully now it's all, yeah, there we go. It's all good now. And then we could probably put the yeah, USB in separately. There we go. I'm just going to plug this in here. Let me just see the right, yeah. Be a little bit careful with SATA cables, or SATA connectors should I say. There we go. There we go. Yeah, that's in. A little bit tight in the CPU area as well. Don't know if you just saw that, hopefully you did get that, but yeah, just a little bit tight there. I'm going to do the big connection for the big 24 pin first. Just be a little bit careful with the motherboard here. I usually just put my fingers under it as you put the cable in. Okay. So we're just going to feed the PCIe cables up through the little hole here. So we've got our PCIe cables through, and we're just going to install the graphics card now. So just very easily, I've already taken off the brackets, so no worries there. There you go. There we go. Yep. There we go. The first game up is GTA 5. So at 1080p high, an average of 128, a minimum of 96 and a maximum of 151 frames per second for GTA 5. Our second game is Fortnite, another classic here. This game does have a lot of drops, unfortunately, but we did get a 91 average at 1080p high, a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 147. As this is an online game, this is probably why we're having those drops. I think if it wasn't for lag, then we would certainly be higher. Our third game is Watch Dogs Legion. 1080p high, average of 72, minimum of 19 and a maximum of 99. Our fourth game, Forza Ryzen 5, an average of 93, a minimum of 77 and a maximum of 110. This is a really good performance again. Our penultimate game, our fifth game, is Rainbow Six Extraction. Now, just using the CAN benchmark here, we have an average of 123, a minimum of 87 and a maximum of 147. Cyberpunk 2077, the graphics card destroyer. Unfortunately, this is where we slightly dipped below the 60 FPS average at only 56 average, a minimum of 19 and a maximum of 74. Unfortunately, we didn't quite hit 60 FPS. Certainly putting DLSS to quality or even performance or balance would certainly see a big difference here. I have done a separate video on this and I will link that above.